Grand Prix Sunday, and great to be out and about, catching up with some people, catching up with Tony Barron. Firstly, Tony, thank you, and thanks for joining Campbell's Comments.
Cheers, thanks very much.
We're here in your man cave because the weather's not ideal today. It's not horrendous by any stretch. It's just sprinkling showers all day. Hopefully Akarua goes ahead tomorrow. It's going to be a good day of racing down there, that's for sure.
Yeah, the grass tracks are very popular around here, but I'm not sort of big on them myself. I try and keep clear of them, but they're very popular.
We're here in your man cave because the weather's not the idealist, and it's great to see the walls adorned with a champion mare, and we will get onto her. Firstly, you have got one runner on Sunday, but what a great meeting it is in general. 8 Group 1s and some terrific races with some really high-class horses. There's a few missing, but all in all, some really, really high-class racing.
Yeah, just a super day's racing. I hope for the club and the industry that things go well. Probably a little bit of a test on a Sunday, but the fields are absolutely super, and it'll be a great betting day anyway.
There is a little race going on over in Australia too at the time. Oh, quickly, your horse, I'm going to go with Classy Dancer. I actually did write it down. Classy Dancer, what do you give her chances in the first?
Probably a good place chance. If she'd drawn inside a little bit more, I thought I would have been happier. She's got good gate speed, but she's drawn 5, and there's a bit of speed inside her. So she's a good mare as long as she can get out and get the rail. She's always in the first 4.
You sold quite a few horses to Australia. I've been looking at the walls and the lots. How many do you train, mate? How many you got in work?
We do 10 all the time. Can be 8. 10's a good number for us. Just my wife and I do them now. So we're very lucky. We rent half a barn at Ray Jenkins's, which is only 6 minutes from where we're standing. So, very lucky. But we always have a nice team. Like we never have the big numbers, but we try and keep the quality up.
And get on to a couple of little things I've found out since I've been in here about names of horses and the likes. The Interdominion's going on across the ditch, and you've got a major player. Firstly, Queen Elida, you must be wrapped with how she's going. I mean, she was just sensational at Shep, but I think she was awesome at Ballarat myself as well, chasing home a very nice horse.
Yeah, and just the improvement in the 4 or 5 days in between was unreal. They said she had a nice blow at Ballarat, and she just jogged it at Shepparton. So, we just keep our fingers crossed. We're pretty level-headed. We've been around a long time, and never experienced a horse like her, but she's in with a good chance.
I'm fortunate enough, Brett Lilly, I get along very well with him because I don't put a microphone in front of him too often, but I was able to get an interview very quickly with him the week prior to the Interdominion, and just his methodical planning. Like, I looked at her and I thought, wow, she's big, but it's all geared around even not necessarily this Saturday, but the following Saturday. It must be great to have an astute trainer like he being so involved with her, and so he has bought well and truly in on winning this Interdominion. He
has, and the management of both Brent and Chris Alford has just been unbelievable. They've looked after the horse so well. It's not funny. We just couldn't be happier. They've managed her well. Chris has never barbecued her. Like, she's been looked after that well in her races. So that's going to stand to her in the long term, and hopefully in the next 10 days it stands to her as well.
Chris loves her. He's great to talk to about it. Like, he loves her because she is just such an easy-going horse. She's not, they have to pre-race warm her up because she's not that easy once she first sets foot onto the track, and whoever gets that job, I think the boys sort of think they're a little bit unfortunate because Chris always seems to have a drive in it. But race manners are just exceptional, and that's one thing that stands her in so much good stead, isn't it?
Yeah, it's always been right from when we broke her in. I actually broke her in as a weanling, just trotted her around, and she's always just been ABC. Her manners. She has the odd wee buck, but she would never kick, or her steering's always good. And Chris just loves driving her. He said, if you want to go forward, you go forward. If you want to go back, you go back. If you just do what you want. She's just ABC, and that's been her whole life. And luckily, she's got the motor to go with it.
And the idea was floated to going into Dominion, 4-year-old mare. What was your you've been around the industry for a long time. How did you feel about it?
It's been planned for a long time. Lil's in charge. Buff and I, we just do what he says, and they've looked after her that well. So they planned it well out, and it's coming to fruition. So as I say, we've just got to keep our fingers crossed. But he's one thing about Lil. I mean, he's a super horseman, but he can place his horses very, very well.
Yeah, he can indeed. How'd you come to get her? This was half the stories that I did find out, but I mean, luck can be a convenient little thing sometimes, can't it?
Yeah, it's a bit of a long story, but if I shorten it right up, Buff McKenzie, who's a great friend of mine, has been for years, he was into gallopers, and he's done very well with his business, which is milking cows, and he's in a big way now with him and his family. He wanted to buy a pacing 2 or 3-year-old colt or gelding to race. He wanted a racehorse. So, long story short, I found him a 4-year-old trotting mare. And asked Phil Williamson. I had one in later in the day. She was in the first race at Wyndham one day. I'll never forget it. And I think there was a false start or two, and she run second. Now, if she had won that day, we wouldn't be standing here because I wouldn't have even asked her if she was for sale. But she runs second, a very good second. And so I went to the races later. I said to Phil, "Is that maiden trotter for sale?" He said, "It is," but he said, "I want a fair bit for it." I said, "Well, that won't matter if it's the right horse." He said, "She's pretty good." So anyway, I said to Buff, "This is her." So he paid for her on the Tuesday. Of course, Oamaru's 4 hours from where I lived. The Williamsons brought her down to Wackawhite on the Sunday. She won by 6 lengths in my colours and my name as a trainer. I hadn't even seen the horse. Hadn't seen her, never got her vetted or anything because they're just such a good family. The Williamsons, so and as I say, the rest history. We raced her. She won right on 100,000, 98,000. She won 9 races, I think. And then at the end of her days of racing, we didn't want to over-race her. Buff wasn't really interested in breeding, so him and I took on a partnership to breed from her. And as I say, the rest history.
And it's been great. Was breeding... he wanted a racehorse. Obviously, it wasn't on his radar so much. Was it on your radar with her, or was it buy her and then see what happens? You sell to Australia, maybe sell her on to Australia, or was it you always liked the bloodlines of her? Yeah,
just a family you can't get into. You're very, very lucky if you can get a filly out of that family. And I think Phil was looking after us a wee bit. Actually, I had a horse called Springbank Richard, who was a very good horse. And I gave him his first 4 starts. Things didn't pan out. We were only just educating him. And the owner took him off me and sent him to Phil. So I think Phil's payback was I'll sell him a good one. And as I say, to get her first foal, she's won 300,000. We sold her second foal for 280. And we've got another couple of fillies out of her. So I'm well and truly on the right side of the ledger now.
Are they going through the sale, or you keep the fillies?
No, we keep the fillies. It's always been the deal. It's one thing I said to Buff. We've got to sell the colts and keep the fillies. So, just keep the ledger balanced.
Williamson's, Phil, they sold a nice horse back in Australia just recently. They're very good at moving. They're great trainers themselves, but also moving them on. With Harry Stamper winning the Breeders' Crown just the other day, and the New South Wales Derby earlier in the year as well. So they're not bad people to buy one off if you can get one off them.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of fillies there at the moment you'll be struggling to buy. But no, they do a super job. They're just great trainers, great feeders. The horses do the job, and if they sell them, they do the job. So, very good.
Sending her over to Lils, not so much how did that come about, but how did that sit with you when that was on the radar? Because there are pretty unique horses to get hold of, these fillies.
Yeah, well, she was always a nice filly, and a lovely filly, and I said to Buff, it's just too hard here racing the colts. He'd paid up for the Need for Speed, the Breeders' Crown. She was in all the good races. So I said she's really got to go over there to race the fillies. If she was still here now, there's 3 gorillas here that they're really, really hard to beat. There's Bolt for Brilliance, Muscle Mountain, and Sunday Sun, of course. So she would have been basically racing for 4th or 5th money right from the start. So it was basically my idea to hatch the plan to have a go at the fillies over there. Lil had followed her through her trials and her first couple of races, and he said she'll do a very good job over here. And we had a couple of wee hiccups. She got a bit crook. She probably should have won the 2-year-old Breeders' Crown, actually. Mexicano galloped out of the gate, and we were left in front, but we actually watched it in this room. There's usually a stack of us in here, and I said to Buff, she's just not the same horse. A lap from home, she wasn't flicking her ears. You notice her in her races, she's always flicking her ears and just loves what she's doing, and she wasn't doing that. I said, she's not right. So 2 days later, there was green snot and that coming out of her. She was crook, but apart from that, she's just never missed from there on since. The
greatest thing I like about her, just the speed, and a lot of you Kiwis at the minute probably sitting here watching her on TV. It's one of those things. Get their trackside. Like, if she lets down in the end, she's explosive. She is fast, but it's 2 strides, and she'll put a couple of lengths on good quality horses. That's a part I just love about her.
Yeah, she's really developed that, and I mean they always need speed, but she's really developed it. From if you had a look at her back now as a 2-year-old, and then onto a 3-year-old, and then look at her now. It's pretty exciting even for a 5-year-old year. Like, she's only 4-year-old, so it's pretty exciting for the future too.
Keep racing her for a long time, will you? Or will you get in the breeding barn? Which way do you go?
Well, my view will be breeding. Lil will be to race. Buff will do whatever. We just hope she stays sound and healthy. But one thing with my broodmare is I don't like them over raced. But yeah, we'll see. There's a very close relation to her. One under Kenny. She was a great mare. Like, she one over Kenny, was it? Yep. One over Kenny. She won over $1 million, and she raced through till she was 9. And I don't think she's ever left a dud in the breeding barn. So, I don't want her having 90 or 120 starts or anything like that. But if she's still fit and healthy, she'll tell us.
Well, I see it. You want to go to the breeding barn. Lils wants a keeper. Buff's going to sit in the middle, so the deciding vote goes to C. Alford, so I know what's going to happen.
Yeah, she won't be in the breeding barn.
No hope. Right. The colours. Now, I did a thing with Dave Miles, and I said about how unique it would be to see the colours win a Melbourne Cup, but I actually thought it was Empire Rose's colours. But they are Kingston Town's colours. Well, I think Kingston Rule actually raced the fastest ever Melbourne Cup winner as well. Very, very famous colours. How did that come about?
Yeah, I was in my early 20s and I was over working in Perth for Greg Harper, and my wife-to-be, we weren't married then, Cheryl was over with me, and she ended up coming home, and so of course I had to follow eventually. Otherwise, we were very close to staying in Perth actually. And Greg Harper said, when you go home and set up training, he said, get these colours if you can. He said they're lucky in racing, and there was a lot of days I thought he was wrong because I've had a lot of bad luck. But we've had a lot of good luck too. We've had a lot more luck than a lot. So no, they've been very good colours, and yeah, as you say, Kingston Town, Kingston Rule, and they've been great colours to us.
No, they have indeed, and I actually back Kingston Rule. That's why I have a little bit of a soft spot. And then there's another spin-off to that, because I saw over there there's a plaque with Tommy Waterhouse. It is actually Waterhouse. You guys are allowed to do it. So in Australia it'd be tricked up a little bit. But I asked about his name, and he is named after Tommy because basically of the mare. Like, it's an interesting one that I didn't know until you explained it just then. Yeah,
I love the gallopers. I've always followed the gallopers, and I'm probably going to get into them a wee bit more now. I've got a couple of broodmares now, the galloping, but Tommy Waterhouse's mother was called Gabrielle Marie, and not many people will know, but that's Gabrielle Marie Smith is Gay Waterhouse. So, of course, when she ended up, she was only just an average racehorse. When I sent her to stud, I thought, well, I'll carry it on. So the first foal out of her was Tommy Waterhouse. The next one should have been Robbie Waterhouse, but it's actually Bobby Waterhouse. He's won a couple too. He goes good. So, so that's just a wee spin-off from where that come from.
Is there a Robbie, or they won't allow it?
No, they won't now with Bobby. I don't know whether my printing probably wasn't that good, so they had him as Bobby Waterhouse, so we just left it at that. So we sold them both at the sales, and the mare's finished now, so there'll be no more.
Gabrielle Marie, did you name her? Like, did you purposely name her after Gay?
Yeah. So as I say, I always follow as you can see with the Bart Cummings, Tommy Smith. I've always followed the great gallopers and the great trainers. So it's been good.
It has indeed. Now, I get sponsored by quite a few people, and people say about the hat and all the rest. Life's a beach. Great to see it too. Andrew will be very happy to see it over there on the wall. But I believe there's a little bit of a story about how you come to get Life's a Beach into the stable, and it's a little quirky one, but it's a great one.
Yeah, well, I remember I was talking to Kelly. She works at the stud, and I said to her, listen, you're sending all these horses out to trainers, and I said, I'm spending, between 70 and 100 grand on service fees and that, and I just brought another filly, which is actually as a spin-off, brought off Woodlands. Her name's Casta Semenya. She won again the other night. Nice filly. I said, I'm spending a lot of money with you, and I'm actually a professional trainer, so what about flicking me one? And Kelly said, actually, there's a couple of fillies there that haven't got trainers, so I'll talk to Andrew and we'll go from there. Well, I thought it'll be something from the back blocks of down by the seaside or some unproven stallion and anyway, she comes up and says, no, it's, life's a beach. So at a beach parade, who'd already left 2 Group 1 winners. So I was just blown away. And then to do the job she's done, it's been a great ride.
I think it's a great advert. You can be cheeky about how you go about certain things, or you can be professional in the way that you do things. And young blokes wanting to get a start. Sometimes if you play your cards right, things can come back your way, can't they?
Exactly, and that's exactly how it panned out for her. They obviously thought, well, we haven't got a trainer for her, and Tony does a reasonable job, so so they've given me a go, and she's just been a super result. We actually sent her over last year to the Breeders' Crown, but it just didn't pan out for her, and she's come in good this year. She just needs a little bit of luck, but she runs second in the Jewels, like a super run that was too. So she's just a good, genuine wee Better's Delight mare.
Where's she at the minute?
She just had a little bit of a hiccup. I don't know what she's done, whether she's had a bee sting or a kick from her mate. There's no mark on her, just right under her elbow. She's got a bit of she was sore for a couple of days, but we've treated it, so it's probably cost us going to Auckland, which I haven't been speaking to Andrew, but he would probably like to go on to the Queen of Hearts up there, but you need to be going up there 110%, and she's 90%, so we'll just pot her away here and make sure she's 100%, and she looks terrific and her work's been good, but you just don't need those hiccups.
Later in the summer carnival, a couple of races for her, hopefully.
Yeah, well, what I might do now that she's just not 100 is I might take her to the trials and try and clear her from a stand, because she's actually quite a good wee beginner, and it would just open her up for the Country Cups races and that round here, because I know there's been a couple of races she's missed out on, and there's been a stand on the program and she's not allowed in it because she's not cleared from a stand. So we might do that next week.
Tone, thank you. I've absolutely loved it. Found out a little bit and a lot about you, and then cleared up some colours. David Miles will be happy because he did actually say they were Kingston Town's colours. I said they were Empire Roses, but I think Empire Roses are pretty similar anyway.
Very similar. Just got a black band round the belly. Whakanui stud that was. Bodles bred her and raced her. Yeah.
You Kiwis, you go okay, don't you?
Yeah, we're good Kiwi battlers.
Yeah, right. So, thank you. Good luck on Sunday, which is going to be a great week of racing. I look forward to seeing you Saturday week in Melbourne. All the best for that. Hopefully she gets the chockies. But I think well done to you anyway. There's some bolt for Briances in it. Just Believe, the horse that beat you at Ballarat as well. It is a really good Inter-Dominion field, I think, this year. But there's probably 3 standouts being those 3 horses. And probably Barrier Draw is going to be a big player in it. But I think you're a really, really live chance. So good luck, mate.
Cheers. Thanks very much.